Good evening, it is Matt Rogers. It is now the 11th of March 2025. Thank you for joining this topic of this reporting of Planet X, Nibiru and the coming cataclysms. I like to suggest by bringing up history regarding Planet X to the new subscribers to this broadcast. A new discovery strengthening the idea that a large mysterious planet known as Planet 9, Planet X, may be lurking unseen at the solar system's edge. Astronomers say they have found a tiny object orbiting far out from the Sun that fits with the Planet X theory. In fact, the object may have been seen pushing onto the path it takes now by the hidden planet's gravity. The tiny rock, named TG387 and nicknamed the Goblin, was spotted by astronomers at the Carnegie Institution of Science using a giant Japanese observatory in Hawaii called the Subaru. The Carnegie team first spotted the object in 2015 and then followed it on its journey around the Sun for the last 4 years. These observations revealed the incredibly distant target of TG387. They take this observation of 40,000 years to complete just one orbit around the Sun, and it's only one very elliptical path far from the inner solar system. The closest it ever gets to the Sun is 65 astronomical units, or 65 times the furthest of a distance between the Sun and the Earth. For reference, Pluto only gets as far as 49 astronomical units from the Sun. A select group of distant star objects all point to the possible existence of Planet X. This orbit particularly exists since it puts TG387 in the selective group distant star solar system objects that all point to the possible existence of Planet X. Right now, there are 14 far-out space rocks that all share similar orbits and patterns, suggesting that the planet is out there. Their paths are all super elongated, and they all cluster together in the same area when they approach the Sun. Plus, each new finding helps astronomers narrow down where to look for Planet X. Each time we find another one of these similar objects, it will lead us to constrain whether the bigger planet could be. Astronomer Scott Shepard at the Carnegie Science and the lead author of the study of the astronomical journal detailing the discovery tells they're all on very similar orbits, and indeed their orbits are slightly different from where the planet could be. They suggested that there's something that was pushing them into similar types of orbits. See, the idea that a giant planet lurking beyond Neptune is an idea that astronomers have speculated for the last century. However, the hunt for Planet X turned much more serious in 2012, when Shepard and his team found a far-flung orbit that was hugely and truly unique. It was the object called VP113 that currently holds the record for the most distant object orbiting the Sun. The closest it ever got to a star is 80 astronomical units, or 80 times the Earth-Sun distance. Shepard noticed that the object also followed the path similar to those of a few other distant space rocks, as well as the far-off dwarf planet called Sedna. Then in 2016, a researcher at Caltech, Mike Brown, explained and did the math. Based on the orbits of 6 of these objects, they estimated that there is a planet roughly 10 times the mass of Earth orbiting far beyond Neptune. The calculation showed that it's possible it takes 3,600 years to orbit the Sun. They dubbed this as well in the scientific community the Phantom Planet, Planet 9. Through others have been calling it Planet X and Nibiru for years. Since then, more and more objects have been found that fits the orbital pattern, and the idea of these objects are in just the right orbit, arriving to survive for Planet X gravitational wrath. If they follow any of these paths, they would likely collide with a bigger planet, or planet's gravity would send them hurtling out towards the solar system. However, all these very distant extreme orbits of planets in such a way they would never get close to Planet X when it crosses their orbits. Whenever the planet is crossing the orbit of one or other objects, these objects are on the other side of the solar system, so they never get close to each other. But not all of these objects are reliable narrators, as they could be amongst of these 14 objects tell some more precise stories than others. Through today's studies, he explains, for one thing, some of the objects cross the orbits of Neptune, and that planet gravity might have some influence on the objects and wrap up through their routes. Neptune has the effect of muddying up things, even if you have the orbit carefully sculptured by the Planet 9, that makes it very hard to know whether or not the object is truly pushed away about by the unseen planet. It goes on to say as well, with these objects, but with the new discovery of T3-387 is very special because the orbits are so distant. When this farthest from the Sun, the rock will also be to an extreme 2.300 astronomical units away. In fact, it's remarkable that the astronomers have found it at all, since it's about 7 times smaller than Pluto or so far off. But because of its extreme distance, TG387 is not influenced by any other way by a large object in the inner solar system. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune don't have any effect on its orbit. That means, if this object was truly battered around by Planet X, it might be more information about the planet's orbit than other objects that do. And now, when the team of the simulations of the solar system with the Planet X in it, they found that the objects orbit in such a way that things change. This one joins the elite group of 6 objects that are stable in the solar system. It also explains as well, of course, Planet X is nowhere near being done, or even a deal. There are only 14 objects that particularly support the existence of this super low number of these standards. We don't have tens or thousands of these objects. The astronomer studying the distant small body at Queen's University in Belfast was one that was involved with the research. He'd explain, "I'd be very happy if we had tens." But he also explains as well that is even a bare handful. Additionally, explains Bannister says it's important to remember that the astronomers did not, with the comprehensive snapshot of the distant solar system, the time of the year, the weather, and also the part of the sky telescope, observe the influence of the kind of the objects that were discovered out there, adding bias to the sample. Plus, the objects that we find are typically on their closest approach to the Sun, on their super distant orbits, and that skews our discoveries for a bit. For instance, TG387 was found when it was around 80 astronomical units away, not thousands of astronomical units away. That means we may not have a good idea of what it is out there because we can't see the objects that are super far out towards their orbits. Each of these objects we detect is the tip of the iceberg for a larger population. For every new discovery made, there must be hundreds and thousands of objects that astronomers can't see, and those objects could tell a different story rather than the Planet X one. However, these astronomers who predicted that an object like TG387 could exist in our solar system Does this say, folks, the discovery into helping the shape of our understanding of the distant solar system? We still don't understand why that objects like this, completely detached from the rest of the planets, they've made a great discovery. This is what they explain. These exact objects we need to find to understand the formation and the history of our solar system. We don't expect every object to find to fit the pattern, though that is of what is happening right now. Now, better yet, finding Planet X would be pretty convincing. The problem is that there is a lot of sky, and the telescopes at the scientific community don't cover that much of an area at a time. The Subaru telescope in Hawaii is perhaps the best tool. It can observe the area for about 6 full moons at a time. But it's still tough to pinpoint the exact location of such a faraway faint planet. It's a lot like looking for a target with a sniper rifle. You have to know where to look. But TG387 does help pinpoint astronomers in a slightly better direction. Because of the discovery, there was about 30 orbits. And again, the scientific community thought that Planet X could be on. Now there is only about 25 or so, he explains, in the scientific community, and the astronomers will be looking back at Subaru in mid-October, picking up the research. They've explained we've covered about 30% of the prime area, and we hope to be setting out with the information in the next coming years. We'll have covered up 60 to 7% of the prime area, says the scientific community. They also explain as well, Planet X is found, then a whole new crop of questions will arise. Perhaps the biggest one of all is, where did it come from? Most don't think it's possible for these planets to have formed where it is now. It is likely have formed in an inner solar system that got flung outwards, perhaps by Jupiter or Saturn. Then Wood suggested of a lot of things formed in our solar system and its very chaotic place in the formation era. But before the questions are answered, Planet X must be found, and those on the hunt are sure it will happen. They're really quite confident in the scientific community, about 99% level of confidence, that Planet 9, Nibiru, is really out there. They also explain it might take an order of a decade to find it, but they are quite confident it is still there. This information is being given out to the new subscribers and also the Planet X community. This is what I do as well, and others in our community, using our high-performance telescopes to reach out to the further distance of our solar system, picking up some very exclusive pictures of planets, asteroids, and other phenomena. Interstellar, something is out there, and we're going to just keep showing the information using the telescope to everybody in our community. Thank you for watching this video, and big respect to all of you, and thank you for subscribing and standing strong. From Matt Rogers.